Western, the medieval epic, science fiction, and of course the age-old struggle of good versus evil. Always a belter was that, as Eric Morecambe used to say. You could argue that this special edition is simply a ruse to squeeze yet more revenue out of one of the most lucrative films ever made. But beyond that, it also reminds us that a film can be a living thing, constantly subject to alteration and improvement. What the special edition really underlines, though, is that if you haven't seen Star Wars on the big screen, and most people haven't, then you've never really seen it at all, and you should. However, I imagine there are those among you who are keen to know precisely what writer-director George Lucas has done to his 20-year-old movie. So I asked him, and happily Lucas did have his anorak with him, and so was able to oblige.
That boy is our last hope.
No, there is another.
Star Wars was designed to be a theatrical experience. It was designed to be on the big screen. Sound is extremely important, and it's very important to the overall enjoyment of the film that it be big.
You're coming in too fast!
There were various things, especially in the original film, that I wasn't satisfied with. Special effects shots that never really were finished, scenes that I wanted to include that couldn't have been included for some reason, mostly money and time.
The essence of the storytelling had to be sacrificed for the limits of technology. George had very specific shots that he wanted to be able to achieve, but it was extremely difficult to do that with models on wires. So although for us in 1977, when we first saw it, it was still powerful, it was still big, he never got visually the dynamic shots that he actually wanted to get. So we've redone those.
See? Let's do it.
One of the things we were concerned with right from the beginning was we certainly didn't want it to suddenly look like a brand new, different looking shot every time we dropped in one of the redos or improved or new shots. So we began early on to make sure that it was possible for us to take a shot, scan it digitally, work on it, do the things to what we want to do, film it back out, and then cut it back in and have it not seem like a different animal.
This is all your fault.
We didn't want to throw out the sound in the film and do it over. There were so many classic things in it. So many things that we could do better. And they also represent what the film is and how it's known to people. So that we did our best to bring them to the audience as clearly and as high fidelity as possible now. We redesigned the sound field in the film to bring more of the sound off to go around the audience. So a spaceship can fly from behind you and move all the way to another corner, this sort of thing.
There goes another one.
Hold your fire. There's no life forms.
The actual motion of Jabba never really existed before. This is something we had discussed with George Lucas, and he said, well, basically I want him to move, right? So that's a problem now, because we don't really know how we move. So we had the concept of a slug initially, and then he had the concept of saying that, well, maybe he has a whole bunch of little legs off the side and they sort of come out like an anemone, right, and actually help him scurry. So initially we sort of went for that approach. Over time it became evident that the mass of the character would allow us to make him move like a sea lion, right? So that's essentially what I did. I made him move like a sea lion. This project here was about 5 shots. It took about a year to do.
The ultimate goal is to make it look like Jabba was on the set talking to Harrison Ford, and we just photographed it. This is the original plate that George shot. So the plan was for us to remove this actor and replace him with Jabba. He had to be physically in that space where this actor was, doing all the same things in a similar kind of style.
For me, I got to remake the movie and get it to be finished the way I want, so I'm perfectly happy. But it would be fun to be able to share that intangible part of the experience of seeing it in a large theater with hopefully millions of people.
I'm not afraid. You will be.
Well, as a footnote to all that, special editions of The Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi will open next month. And so to the current list of the top 10 films in America. At 10, Marvin's Room. Diane Keaton is Oscar nominated for dying gracefully in A Tale of Terminal Illness. 9, Vegas Vacation. Chevy Chase and the rest of the Griswold family enjoying another National Lampoon holiday. At 8, there's Dante's Peak, and I'll be discussing that in a moment. 7, Absolute Power. Clint Eastwood directs and stars in a saga of murder, sex, and the US president. At 6, Star Wars, and I'm sure you know what that's all about. 5 is Booty Call, a comedy of courtship and seduction in which Tommy Davidson tries to worm his way into Tamala Jones's bed. 4, Donnie Brasco, Al Pacino and Johnny Depp in the true story of an FBI agent infiltrating the New York Mafia. 3, The Empire Strikes Back, Episode 2 in the newly revamped saga. Return of the Jedi follows imminently. 2 is Jungle to Jungle, Disney comedy with Tim Allen as a father bringing his Mowgli-like son back from the Amazon to the Big Apple. And at number 1, there's Private Parts, the autobiographical tale of shock jock Howard Stern's rise to media stardom and notoriety. And that brings us to Romeo and Juliet, or beg its pardon, William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Phew, that's a relief for a moment there. I thought it might be the Spice Girls' Romeo and Juliet. Anyway, in the hands of director Baz Luhrmann, whose early work includes Strictly Ballroom, the action is transferred to contemporary Verona Beach, California, where the Montagues, led by Brian Dennehy, and the Latin American Capulets, under their capo, Paul Sorvino, are presented as rival gangs of warring mafiosi. In a way, this is West Side Story with iambic pentameters, but without the music. It's also, especially when Romeo, Leonardo DiCaprio, is banished for his own good, reminiscent of The Godfather. My word, you think that happened to Michael Corleone too. Luhrmann has taken tremendous liberties, not so much with the text as with the style of the film. There are gun battles rather than sword fights, screaming police sirens and helicopters and a car chase. The famous wooing scene, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, starts with Juliet, Claire Danes, on a balcony and ends with her and Romeo splashing about in a swimming pool, while Romeo's best friend, Mercutio, Harold Perrineau, is a black disco artist who turns up at the Capulets' masked ball in drag, and so on.
It is but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's Montague? It is not hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other word would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for thy name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
I take thee at thy word.
A Romeo and a Montague?
Neither fair maid defeated thee dislike.
How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The garden walls are high and hard to climb, and the place death, considering who thou art.
With love's light wings did I approach these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out, and what love can do, that dares love attempt. Therefore thy kinsmen are no stop for me.
The question is, does all this work? In many ways, yes, though not nearly as well as Ian McKellen's modernised Richard III did. Younger audiences will probably respond most warmly because of the film's relentless energy and garish spectacle, and the attractive pairing of DiCaprio and Danes, both of whom are pretty good, as the star-crossed lovers. Against that, the action is often overblown and crude, and most of the supporting cast, though not Pete Postlethwaite as Friar Lawrence and Miriam Margolyes as the nurse, are so baffled by the verse that for much of the time they might as well be yelling at each other in Esperanto. Nevertheless, this is a boldly imaginative picture, and you have to give Luhrmann credit for that. Dante's Peak, on the other hand, is a formulaic disaster movie packed with spectacular special effects and agreeably played by Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton. Brosnan is a volcanologist summoned to Dante's Peak, a small American town sitting at the foot of a volcano with a short fuse and a bad case of heartburn. It rumbles, it burps, it has, in short, attitude. Brosnan knows the signs and advises the town council to evacuate the area, but the council won't listen. Town councils never do they? Tell them a shark is eating all the tourists or a volcano is about to erupt, and they tell you to stop rocking the boat or you'll frighten off the multinational corporation that's about to build a factory in the town. Everyone, including his boss, pooh-poohs poor old Pierce. Well, not quite everyone. The local mayor and cafe owner, Linda Hamilton, rather takes to him. She's a divorcee with 2 small kids, and some hunks like Brosnan are sort of rare in Dante's Peak. So it's Pierce and Linda against the rest until just as everyone thought it was safe to go back up the mountain, the volcano emits a tremendous belch and throws up over everything. Lava? You've never seen so much lava, or smoke and flames and hurtling rocks.
That is a pyroclastic cloud.
Here, baby.
Mom, it's coming! Oh my God! Don't look back, kids! Don't look back!
There goes the neighbourhood. Director Roger Donaldson handles all this stuff very well, while Brosnan, though often stirred, is never shaken. Dante's Peak is not one of the great epics of our time, but it's as visually impressive as last year's disaster movie Twister, and much more enjoyable. But now, when I tell you that Katie Derham has been looking at dogs in the movies, I am not making a sexist remark. This has nothing to do with the beauty or otherwise of leading ladies. The fact is that there are lots of dogs, 4-legged ones, in films these days, and Katie has been inquiring into the matter.
I don't know if you've noticed recently, but Hollywood seems to have developed a real dog addiction. From A Time to Kill to Dante's Peak, we haven't seen so many performing poochers since the days of Lassie and Rin Tin Tin. But these days, man's best friend in the 90s doesn't just have to cope with rescuing children. He's got much more lethal things to fend off, like aliens, for example. And if you think that's bad, imagine the threat of volcanoes.
Ruffy! We're only gonna get one chance at this! Come on, Ruffy, jump!
And even collapsing in New York tunnels.
Oh my God, it's the lady's dog! Uber! No, we're gonna get it! No! It's just a stupid dog! Shut up, Vincent! What's the matter with you? It's just a dog! It's a dog! I don't believe it!
You may very well have seen that the human beings actually come second best nowadays. And it does help if you can be a really cheeky little puppy.
Barky. Go in the drawer and get the key.
You even get invited to all the best social functions.
World to come, may have life everlasting. Amen. Amen.
But do remember, a dog isn't just for a Saturday trip to the pictures, it is for life.
I think that the film industry should realise the tremendous influence that they have when they display animals. For instance, the recent 101 Dalmatian film, I don't know that perhaps when the video comes out, that unscrupulous breeders would have got them lined up for the people who just want that dog that's on the film. And as you can see behind us, there are too many dogs for not enough people.
Stardom on the silver screen can therefore go far too far. And it's not just in the pet world either. Sometimes the Hollywood directors can have some very strange ideas. One time a dog can end up looking like this, and the next minute, in the hands of directors like Tim Burton, they can end up looking like this. Don't look.
Natalie, is that you?
Yeah. How are you feeling?
I told you not to look.
My word, it's a dog's life. The Scottish director Gillies MacKinnon, who made the excellent Small Faces, now presents another story of Celtic folk. Trojan Eddie is set in a small Irish town where Eddie, Stephen Ray, sells stuff to housewives from the back of his van on behalf of the local and crooked big shot Richard Harris. Ray, fresh out of jail for some botched crime, has ambitions but is encumbered by his 2 children, his estranged wife Angeline Ball, and his continuing but uncommitted relationship with Brid Brennan. Besides, like everyone else around, he's enthralled to Harris, a former traveller or gypsy who's settled down and dominates the local populace by brute force and the power of his personality. But Harris has his problems too. His grip on things is not what it was, and he's besotted as only an old man could be with Aislinn McGuckin, who is young enough to be his granddaughter. Trouble really starts when Harris marries McGuckin and his nephew, Stuart Townsend, takes off with both the bride and the wedding money.
Jesus, I'm terribly sorry about this, John. Disgraced the family, she did. And this for that other fella. He's dead.
Where have you been?
Had to drive Mrs. Cash home.
What did you tell me? You did? With the money again?
Gave it to Kathleen.
What about Dermot?
Dermot? Never saw Dermot.
Wait outside with the rest of them.
So Ray is sent off to recover the runaway wife, but of course things are never that simple, and there's much mayhem, violence and murder before matters are finally resolved. This is a rich Irish stew of a film with the meat and potatoes provided by Ray and Harris, but MacKinnon and the writer Billy Roach also toss in numerous other ingredients in the form of subplots and subsidiary characters. At times it all gets a little confusing, a little too much, but generally MacKinnon keeps the pot boiling very nicely. Stephen Ray is splendid, well he always is, but Harris, for once restraining his tendency to go whooping over the top, is excellent too, and their scenes together crackle and sparkle so sharply that you wish there were more of them. Time now, though, for the movie news. In Hollywood, Sean Connery and Michael Douglas are talking about starring together for the first time in Pathfinder, a $75 million cat-and-mouse action picture to be made by Paramount. A starry premiere in New York last Thursday launched The Devil's Own. It stars Harrison Ford as an American policeman who gives refuge to Brad Pitt, unaware that Pitt is an Irish gunman and the focus of an international manhunt. Controversy seems destined to follow. After last week's news that Quentin Tarantino's next film will be an adaptation of Elmore Leonard's Rum Punch, Steven Soderbergh will, it appears, direct George Clooney in another Leonard adaptation, this one a version of his hard-boiled love story, Out of Sight. Now some rather sadder movie news. Fred Zinnemann, who died at the weekend, a few weeks short of his 90th birthday, was among the finest of Hollywood directors. He was an erudite, intelligent man, a great storyteller of eclectic taste, as much at home with a musical like Oklahoma as a thundering good war movie like From Here to Eternity, or High Noon, one of the best westerns ever made. Along the way, he launched the careers of Marlon Brando in The Men and Grace Kelly in High Noon, and did wonders for Peter Finch and Audrey Hepburn in The Nun Story. Though his career lasted from 1935 to 1982, he directed only 23 feature films, partly because he was very choosy about his material and partly because his style of thought-provoking, well-made films wasn't too popular with the studios. Oscars don't always tell the whole story, but Zinnemann won 4 of them, along with 5 other nominations, and you have to be very good to do that. A likeable, courteous man, he'd lived in London since 1963 and was rather shamefully neglected by the American film industry, especially in the last 15 years of his life. And that brings us to the competition. Last week's question was, what connects Ransom with Mother Night? Answer: Nick Nolte stars in Mother Night, and his son, Brawley Nolte, plays Mel Gibson's son in Ransom. The first correct entry out of the hat came from Owen Wilson of Swansea. And so to this week's poser, which is probably a doddle for Star Wars fans, and is simply this: what is the name of the planet on which the Jedi Master Yoda lived? Answers on a postcard, and by next Monday, to Film 97 competition, BBC White City, 201 Wood Lane, London, W12 7TS. The usual prize, a Film 97 sweatshirt and a year's free cinema going. But now, on learning that Space Jam stars Michael Jordan, who appears to be some sort of basketball player, and Bugs Bunny, you may well ask, what's up, Doc? Well, I'll tell you, this is a blend of live action and animation, apparently aimed at very young people and those unfortunates who are addicted to basketball, a non-event of a game in my opinion. On a planet far, far away, the local cartoon tyrant decides his moron mountain theme park needs new attractions and sends a group of small creatures to Earth to kidnap the Looney Tunes, Bugs, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, the whole shooting match. To avoid such enslavement, Bugs and company, being taller than the aliens, though not a lot, challenge them to a basketball game, the result to decide their fate.
Has anyone here ever played basketball?
I have. I'd like to try out for the team.
Hey.
Hi, my name is Lola Bunny.
Lola?
Yes?
Hello. My name is Bugs. You want to play a little one-on-one, doll?
Doll?
Uh-huh.
On the court. Bugs.
Sure. Ooh, hey, hot.
Ready?
Yes. I got it.
The girl's got some skills.
The dastardly, albeit moronic, aliens cheat by stealing the talent and the size of various noted basketball players, thus seemingly making themselves invincible. But they overlooked Jordan, who at this point had retired from basketball and, to everyone's embarrassment, was trying to become a baseball player, a game at which the best that could be said for him was, he looks great in the uniform, you just can't teach that. So the Tunes snatch Jordan, persuade him to play on their team, and, well, figure it out for yourselves. Surprisingly, it's all rather good fun, amusing, very cleverly made, and much enlivened by a cameo appearance by Bill Murray as a wannabe basketball star.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Your Airness, but if you don't find a 5th player, your team will forfeit the game.
Forfeit?
Precisely, Sir Altitude.
No way. We'll find someone.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I didn't know Dan Aykroyd was in this picture.
Hey! Perhaps I could be of some assistance.
That's our fifth guy. Let's go. Now you get to live up your dream. Let's go.
All right.
All right. Need to score 2
Here's
points.
how I see it. Duck.
Yeah.
You kick it into the girl bunny.
Yeah.
Down in the post. You dish it back out to the guy bunny.
Got
you
it.
swing it around the mic over here. You go to the hole and dominate.
We on defense.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa! I don't play defense.
I must say, Michael Jordan seems to play basketball rather well, a lot better than he plays baseball anyway, and is quite a personable actor too. But I ask you, what is the world coming to when a screen newcomer like him takes top billing over a seasoned and well-loved veteran like Bugs Bunny? And that's all, folks. Although I should add that Star Wars, Trojan Eddie and Space Jam open on Friday, and Romeo and Juliet and Dante's Peak will open on March the 28th. Details of that and other things in this programme can be found on CFAX, page 542. Now, there'll be no Film 97 next Monday night because I'll be in Los Angeles to guide you through the annual Academy Awards shindig. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. You'll be able to watch the whole ceremony live on BBC Two starting at 2 o'clock on Tuesday morning. Then at 10 o'clock on Tuesday night and on BBC One, I'll be presenting an edited highlights programme which will include a roundup of post-Oscar reactions and parties. And with British films like The English Patient and Secrets and Lies in the running for the top honours, it should be quite an occasion. So I do hope you'll join me at some time next Tuesday. Meanwhile, and with the reminder that with Oscar and Easter intervening, the next film 97 will be in 2 weeks' time, here's a scene from Fever Pitch, adapted from Nick Hornby's novel and starring Colin Firth as a school teacher who, poor sad devil, is an Arsenal fan. Goodbye.
How's your ice cream?
Good.
Let's do something different next time I'm over.
Like what?
Go swimming? Go and see a film? I'll think of something.